Do you think Deandre Ayton is going to be able to slow him down at all?
How many languages can I say no in?
All right, let's go to Denver, Phoenix, Mort. The Nuggets knocked out the Portland Blazers in the first round despite not having Jamal Murray. The Suns came down from a 2-1 deficit. They took advantage of a very banged up Anthony Davis and just boat raced the Lakers out of the playoffs in these last two games. So again, this is injuries I think are looming large over this series. Chris Paul is playing through that shoulder injury. He's looked better in recent games, so I don't think we have to account for, the uncertainty that we had going into game 2. But like it's still a shoulder injury, and he did still, I think it was game 5 where he seemed to aggravate it and left early. So that's, just something to keep in mind. Odds makers have Phoenix as a -205. The Nuggets are a +172. So Phoenix is a slight favorite to win this series. They have home court advantage as well. I think first question, you're going against the very likely MVP if you're the Phoenix Suns. Do you think Deandre Ayton is going to be able to slow him down at all?
How many languages can I say no in? No. I love DeAndre. I think he had a great series against the Lakers. He was flat out dominant. I mean, we're talking about 80% shooting from the field, 16 and 11, great interior defense. That's nice. That doesn't fly against Jokic. Nothing flies against Jokic. I mean, remember when we started talking up Rudy Gobert during a podcast, and then right after we stopped recording, we realized that Jokic had like 31 points at halftime against the Jazz. I just don't care at this point who matches up against Jokic. I don't care. It could be Giannis, it could be Embiid, it could be Rudy Gobert. I just don't care. Jokic has that lockdown, that matchup on lockdown, because he's just so versatile, so great at anticipating the next play. His intelligence level is like 5 steps ahead, not just 1 or 2. Like he's Larry Bird and Magic Johnson rolled into a 7-footer, just in terms of how he reads the court. And like, how can DeAndre Ayton stop that? What can Ayton realistically do? Sure, if he gets close to the basket, he can challenge shots. That's great, but Jokic understands that, so he'll just, I'll just settle for a 3 here. I'll take the mid-range pop here. Oh, now I got to switch on someone else. That means I'll go into the post. Like, he's not going to just go straight into it with DA on him. That's not going to happen. He's too smart. So, no, Jokic is going to absolutely abuse that matchup. Absolutely. So, no, I don't have any faith in DeAndre Ayton. And that's not that's not an indictment on Ayton. That's just, no, I don't have much faith in Ayton against Jokic at all.
Right, like no one is going to fully stop. It's similar. No one's going to stop Kevin Durant. No one's going to stop Giannis. Like, you're not going to stop Nikola Jokic. I will say, from a just pure physicality perspective, Ayton's 6'11", 250. Like, I think he is going to be able to at least hold his own in the post against Jokic, which is, not an insignificant part of his game, both as a scorer and a playmaker. Ayton was phenomenal in that Lakers series, especially the first 4 games. Like, they didn't need to lean on him as much when AD went down, but those first 4 games, he averaged almost 20 points, 13 and a half rebounds, shot 80.9% from the field in almost 40 minutes. So, again, not that he's going to, like, if you play as Jokic to a standstill, the Suns are marching through this series. I don't think that's going to happen. But as long as Jokic doesn't abuse him like he did Jusuf Nurkic in that first round series, if you can even come close to holding your own against him, it's going to be.
But what holds him back from doing that, though? Nothing holds him back from doing that. Yeah.
Well, that is true. I mean, I guess from a playmaking perspective, his teammates. If the Suns can shut down Michael Porter, Monte Morris, Aaron Gordon, Austin Rivers, who has been a very pleasant surprise for the Nuggets throughout this playoff run. So let's go into that supporting cast, because I think that's really the other question for Phoenix. What do you do against Michael Porter Jr.?
I think Torrey Craig plays for Phoenix, right, Brian?
He does. He does, in fact, play for Phoenix.
That's actually a defensive matchup I wouldn't hate, to be honest with you. Because Craig is long, he's agile, and also he's a former Nugget. He understands their schemes. He understands what they're running. I wouldn't hate seeing him on Porter Jr. That said, that doesn't mean that he's going to at any point nullify MPJ. MPJ has reached that level where he's just too good. There's now an expected baseline on what he will do. Like if he scores under like 15 points per game in this series, everyone who knows anything about basketball will go, that's out of character, because he's already built himself this reputation now as just a bucket getter. I'm looking at Porter Jr. to just do everything in his power to be that secondary guy, to make up for the loss of Jamal Murray and all of that. And then when I look at Phoenix, like you got Torrey Craig, sure, but there's also Cameron Johnson, I think. I don't want to put Jay Crowder on him necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Although,
yeah,
and I think no, there's a reason for that. I think Crowder is like, he's solid defensively. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a little bit too small. I think he's just not tall enough. I think Porter Jr. is so comfortable with the high release point. Again, not saying he's Kevin Durant, but there is that high. He's got the high release point and the high jumping off point. Like I don't have a scale on how high he is up when the ball releases from his hands, but it is so high up that I don't think a guy like Jay Crowder has a realistic chance at really contesting it at a proper way. And if he does, it's going to be a foul. So right. If I'm Denver, I would actually hunt out that matchup pretty well. The big X factor for me, and you probably knew I was going there, Mikal Bridges. He's got the wingspan. If memory serves, Bridges has like a 7'2" wingspan, something along those lines. It's pretty unrealistic compared to the fact that he's got a 6'7" frame. It's like he's really got Gogo Gadget's arms. I wonder if he is physical enough to stop MPJ, but like from a length perspective, that's probably their best option. So I would say a rotation of Bridges, Torrey Craig, and Cameron Johnson just for the size and the length. And then I would try to use Jay Crowder elsewhere.
Like on Aaron Gordon, maybe?
I think like from a physicality perspective, that actually aligns a little bit better. Plus, Gordon, as much as I love what he's done in Denver, his jump shooting is not one of those high release points. Like you can take away the jump shot. So I would feel more comfortable if I'm the Suns putting Jay Crowder on Aaron Gordon.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I think from that perspective, like the strength of Denver outside of Jokić is MPJ and Gordon. And I think the Suns have an array of wing defenders whom they can throw at those two guys. So I would give the advantage to Phoenix in that department. And then the other problem for Denver, especially with Jamal Murray out, you're looking at a backcourt matchup, a starting backcourt of Chris Paul and Devin Booker against Facundo Campazzo and Austin Rivers. Now, I'm not saying those guys are, like, I don't think Austin Rivers is going to draw the Devin Booker assignment. I'm guessing that's going to be Aaron Gordon. But still, like, what do you do against Chris Paul then? Like, can Rivers or Campazzo slow him down either as a scorer or as a playmaker?
Well, how's his shoulder? That's really the biggest question here, right? I mean, if his shoulder is affected, you can probably get away with a lot. If it's not, if he comes into this series way more healthy than before, I guess you can pray.
Yeah.
That's probably where we are. I mean, I just don't see any way that the Nuggets backcourt wins this matchup at all. Like they have nothing going for him from a defensive perspective. Like Monte Morris was required to be basically their best backcourt player in the first round.
Yes.
Let me just look up his numbers because they were pretty insane, by the way.
Yeah,
I think we need to
15.3 points, 5.8 assists, shot 44.4 overall, 41.7 from 3-point range. One turnover
per game because he's just that reliant. Okay, that I still love that by Marcus. By Monte Morris, like just his ability to protect the basketball. But like, okay, so it's Monte, it's Campazzo, it's Austin Rivers, it's Marcus Howard because look, he played all 6 games, and he played 15 minutes a game. So you know what, Brian? Next time you doubt me on this one, shut the hell up. I told you they should run Marcus Howard 20 minutes a game. I was a mere 4 minutes and 7 off. 4.7 minutes off.
Every time he got on the floor, I was like, God damn it, I'm going to never hear the end of this.
And he hit 45% of his triple percent.
I know.
Mm-hmm. No, but he's not like Marcus Howard against Chris Paul. I wonder, like, no, this is where they'll die, isn't it?
I would think so.
Yeah. I just don't know what to do here, and I think also you need, if you're Aaron Gordon, you need to sort of pick up the offensive slack. You know that you're not getting a lot of the guards. You know you can't expect a repeat of what Monte Morris did in the first round. You can't expect him to come in and be 15.6 assists. You just can't. So if you're Aaron Gordon, you kind of need to go back to your Orlando roots for just a second and say, okay, I need to be on the good side of 18 points every single night.
Yeah. I mean, the Suns were one of the few teams in the top 10 of both offensive and defensive rating throughout the regular season. So it's not like, you know, what you're looking at with the Nets where it's just going to be a track meet, first to 140 wins. Right. Like, the Suns can beat you. I mean, they proved it against the Lakers. They can beat you really either way just by, you know, they won some low-scoring slugfests, but they can also hang points on you pretty easily. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The backcourt, you know, like are you going to count on Austin Rivers to explode in the fourth quarter of one of these games like he did against Portland?
Probably not.
I mean, maybe he does. Yeah. Like, hopefully. I mean, if you know, from Denver's perspective, but I just don't think what propelled them past the Blazers. I don't know if it's going to work against Phoenix, who is really one of the deepest teams left in the playoffs.
Yes, they have the bench. They definitely have the bench. And maybe it's time we start talking about Devin Booker as well. Just like we talked about the defense from the perimeter perspective of Nuggets. And look, man, I mean, Devin Booker, right? There's no one you can throw at him.
No.
Like, there's just no one. I don't even... Let me just go through that roster one more time. Like, let's go through it.
Well, that's why I suggested Gordon, because it was like, he's the only one who I see, like, if Michael Porter Jr. gets switched on to him, we saw what happens.
Yeah, no, and even Gordon, Brian, because you know what? Again, I love Gordon, but Booker is quicker. Yeah. Noticeably quicker. I'm looking over this roster right now. There's just nothing there. I mean,
Here's how one way to frame it. With Jamal Murray hurt, would Cameron Payne currently be the best guard on the Nuggets roster?
God, that's a good one. No. Monte Morris is there.
Okay.
No. Okay. I was if no Monte Morris, yes. But no, I still think Monte Morris is better than Cam Payne. Let's not get crazy here. And I do think Campazzo is also an underrated defender and underrated in general. But no, I mean, like, it's a very underwhelming guard rotation they have right now. What is the status, by the way, of Will Barton? He's out like fully, right?
So, I mean, they unclear both with him and PJ Dozier, and I think those would be the Nuggets have to hope one or both of those guys gets back in this series, because that could at least give them some more options to throw onto Devin Booker and Chris Paul.
Yes.
But currently unclear as to when they'll return or if they'll return.
I mean, Will Barton, if he was fully healthy, I could see that being enough to at least make this super competitive. Because he'll at least give Devin Booker some fits. Like, he'll chase him around, he'll do some things, and offensively, he's a sneaky all-around guard who can slide up to the three a little bit. If he's not there, and you're basically reliant upon Jokić, Porter, and Gordon, and then there's a major drop-off. I mean, look, Paul Millsap is dirt at this point.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way, Brian. If the Nuggets come out of this series alive, it might be one of those all-time upsets. I mean,
yes.
I would be very surprised. But look, at the same time, we're talking about the league's MVP. I mean, he's clearly the best player in the entire series by a considerable margin. I think that's fair to say. And yeah, I know some Suns fans will listen to this and go, well, Devin Booker is pretty close. No. I love Devin, but no. Sorry. Jokić is like a full tier above. He's in that first tier superstar all-around legend status at this point. It's ride or die with him, and if he can't get it done, if he just has one game where he's off, I just don't see the rest of the supporting cast have enough firepower to overcome that. He needs to be on for every single game, and he needs to basically outproduce what he already did in the first round. It'll require one of those superhuman efforts, and I don't think it's fair to expect that of him.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can make a very reasonable argument. The Blazers should have won that first round series, and they are correct to have parted ways with their head coach and are now considering major offseason overhauls. Because if you can't beat this Nuggets team without Jamal Murray, you're going absolutely nowhere. Yeah, like the Nuggets are playing with house money at this point, and the Suns will be expected to win this series. But I agree with you, especially with Barton and Dozier questionable.
Right.
I mean, the backcourt just seems so overwhelmingly lopsided toward Phoenix, and with the wing defenders they can throw at Gordon and MPJ, again, Ayton, I think won't stifle Jokić, but can at least give Jokić problems on the other end at times. Like, I'm going Suns, and I mean, I don't want to say Suns in 5. As long as if Chris Paul's healthy, I would say Suns in 5.
Hell, even if he's not. I mean, you could make that argument, even if he's not. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I'm gonna say Suns in 6 for one reason. I want to give you Joker that courtesy.
Courtesy of losing in the playoffs on his home floor.
Yeah, well, okay, fair enough. But I think he can will it out for 2 games. I think he will have one of those true MVP performances over 2 games where he just gets a W out his ass somehow, some way. And I think he can do it twice because he's that good. If this series goes 7, by the way, oh my God, I would be floored.
Yeah. They might need to make a new award, like playoff MVP, because the Nuggets aren't getting to the finals, but just give it to Jokić. Just playoff MVP.
Can I ask you a question about Jokić long term?
Yeah.
Like, if they lose out in this series, which we both think they will, Jamal Murray, that's an ACL tear. That's a pretty substantial injury. It's probably take him a year to get back, like, fully. I mean, are we looking at that roster going, if we're going to be short every single year, I mean, do they need to do something? Is my question. No. Let's not. I'm asking you, do they need to do something? I'm not trying. No, honestly, I'm asking whether they can do something to retain him.
Yeah.
I'm asking if we're looking at a situation where they kind of need to do something, much like in Portland, to appease Damian Lillard. Do they need to go out and do something in the summer to really show him, look, we're actually doing something here long term? So when 2023 rolls around, you have every reason to re-sign with us.
My short answer is that I will save it for the Bye Felicia that we will probably do for them in 2 weeks. But
that's fair. Okay.
But no, I don't think so. Because I think before Murray got hurt, you could make an argument, especially with the Lakers now out, they would probably be favored. If they had Jamal Murray right now and they had, Barton and Dozier healthy, they'd probably be the favorites in the West right now.
Yeah, I understand that, and I agree with that. But at the same time, do we expect Jamal Murray to be back at fully what he used to be? That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to look at least a year down the line.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling we will be talking about the Nuggets' future in short order.
Fair enough.